Okay, so Cursor 2.0 came out today, and I figured what better way to test it than to actually use it to implement a feature. And so I just did, and I just thought I'd share my results. Yeah, so here with Genla, this is what it looks like to create a new chat right now. You go in, you give your prompt, and then you select your AI team, what agents you want to include in the chat, and then you start the chat. I feel though like this is a little bit intimidating, and so I kind of wanted to make it a better experience. The way I was going to do that is by number one, splitting it up into two steps. First, giving your prompt, and then second, selecting your agents as a separate step. But more importantly, instead of forcing the user to like go through all the agents or create a new one, like right off the bat, I wanted to like use an LLM to pick from our preset list of agents. So the user, so based on the user's prompt, we automatically select what agents would be best to join the discussion with the user. And so I wanted to check out Cursor 2, and I wanted to try it out. And yeah, it was definitely very different once I opened it up. I've been using Cursor consistently since like February, but I kind of stopped using it like the last few months since I started using Grok Code, and then more recently I've been using Open Code. I kind of have just been using Cursor for tab autocomplete, nothing more than that. All my agentic coding I've kind of been doing using Open Code recently. So after my peak of using background coding agents, maybe in like July, I had tried using a lot of different tools like Factory, Devin, Tarragon, and Cursor background coding agents. And I think the main problem was that it wasn't seamless enough to transition between the background coding agent and then like actually manually editing and testing locally. I think that back in July, Cursor had the best implementation of all the ones that I had tried. But initial thoughts on Cursor 2.0 is that it is way better. And so, yeah, let me just kind of walk through what I did. So I gave a prompt. Let's just walk through it at a high level. I said, all right, I'm looking to decrease the friction for user to start a new session. I want to have them write about what they want to talk about in a text field, and then on the same page, show an animation that plays when we're assembling their board of agents. Then in the background, we'll implement an API, which we could call to generate the board that is most relevant to the prompt. Some more details on the API. And then once we've returned the list of agent IDs, the user will be able to either edit their board or they can just start the discussion via voice or text. And then I mentioned the ways that I had planned out to implement this in 4 steps. I told them to create a comprehensive design doc for this entire implementation. And so I kicked off this prompt and I sent it to 4 different models at once. And I had done this before with Cursor, but I guess the main takeaway I got from Cursor 2.0 is just how much more seamless it is to work with these different coding agents in the same place and manage them, and also like take bits and pieces from each of the coding agents that you like and kind of consolidate them into a better result. And so I sent it to Composer 1, so I wanted to try out the new model that they're promoting. I gave it to GPT-5 Codec, Haiku 4.5, and then Grok Code. So I told them all to come up with their own design docs, and then I wanted to compare them. So what I did was I went back to Composer. I gave Composer references to each of the 4 design docs that the agents created, and then I told it that I wanted to look at all the alternate design docs, analyze each of them deeply, name their pros and cons, what they're each good at, what they're each bad at, and I want you to come up with a suggestion for one consolidated design doc that takes the best from all of them. So I did that, and one thing I noticed here that was really nice is number one, I really like how Cursor manages the work trees for you. I use work trees when using CLIs like Grok Code and Open Code. And I just found it really annoying. Typically, when I start the CLI tool, like I gave it access only to my directory, and so if I want to create a work tree outside of that directory, I have to create another instance that has access to a different directory, and then it's just always annoying to deal with work trees. So it's really nice how Cursor handles it for you, and I feel like I haven't run into any issues so far. And so, yeah, I really liked how I could drop references to files from other work trees. And so I feel like this makes it a lot nicer to look through each implementation, find what you like, what you don't like, and then reference each of these snippets when talking to one of the agents to then apply those in their own workspace. I feel like I previously, when using Cursor back in July, tried to do this. Like I used the feature that allows you to run a prompt with multiple models in parallel. But what I used to do is just like copy paste from one design doc to another, and it was just like, yeah, like I mean, you could have done that, but I just find it really nice how seamless it is to be able to reference like files from the other work trees. Really minor detail, but I found like that was something that I didn't know I needed. And so, yeah, I looked at each of the design docs and then analyzed them, and then it did what I said. So it came up with an analysis of what was good and bad from each of the documents. And then I gave my final feedback and told it to create one consolidated design doc. It did so. And then, yeah, I told each of them I dropped references to this design doc in each of the individual agents, and I told them to implement it. And so, yeah, I'll just kind of share the results that I got from each of the agents. So, yeah, out of the four, GPT-5, Haiku 4.5, and Grok Code, their implementations worked out of the box, no errors at all. Composer was the only one that actually didn't work right away, although it just took copy pasting 3 errors, and it was able to fix it. It was pretty easy to fix, but yeah, notable that's the only one that didn't work. And then it was really nice just seeing how fast Composer was. I think from the 4, Composer finished significantly faster when it came to both the design doc and implementing. But yeah, I guess now I can just kind of show the results, what they each came up with. So here I also find it very nice that you can easily open a terminal in the individual work tree. And I also found, so when it creates a work tree, it copies over all the files that are checked in with Git. Obviously, you're not going to have your .env files checked into Git, so you do have to manually copy them over. So something that is nice that Cursor does is they've introduced a worktree.json file that allows you to kind of define what commands you want to run when you create a work tree. So something that is nice is that you can now define a worktrees.json file, which tells Cursor if you want to run like any scripts or anything when you create a work tree. After having defined the worktree.json file, it was as easy as creating the prompt, running it, waiting for each of the agents to implement the code, and then I was able to just run the command once and it worked each time. And so that was nice. So I'll just now compare what each of the 4 models came up with. So I'm gonna run my dev command, and then okay, so yeah, this wasn't too complicated of a change. I think that it was around 500 to 1,000 lines of code from each of the agents. I think that Grok may have had the most lines of code. These are huge numbers here, but that's because of all the lines of documentation, and then Composer 1 has the most lines of code because that's the one that I had iterated with on consolidating all the design docs into one final design doc. But yeah, not too complicated, not too many changes. And then, like I mentioned, with Composer, I had to iterate like and provide errors from the terminal like I think 3 times before it finally worked. But yeah, I was able to resolve all the issues in like maybe 5 minutes. And so yeah, let's test out Genla. Okay, I want to create a startup, but I don't know where to start. Help me discuss what to do. Okay, so yeah, Composer did follow my instructions, made it a very minimal, modern, like simple text field in the first step. Okay, it worked in generating the board. If I go here, it uses the component that I had mentioned in the prompt to select different agents. And let's see if I change the agents here and I save. Oh wait, did I? So if I change the agents here, yep, it's updated successfully here. And if I start the text chat, yeah, it seems to work fine. Okay, cool. Now let's test Codex's implementation. Codex, a little bit less minimalist, although to cut it some slack, this does kind of match the style that I previously had in the new chat page. So okay, and so it's assembling the board. I guess kind of nice that it populates them in that way. Don't know why it chose the conversational French partner agents in this conversation. Although I can't really blame Codex, I'm not sure what model it ended up using under the hood, but it's definitely a lot uglier. And the other one, okay, and then when you go to edit the agents, I mean, it does it inline, which is definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot. But yeah, if we then, let's just start the voice call this time. Hey, how's it going? Okay, now let's test out Haiku 4.5. Okay, yeah, it definitely matches the style that I had previously, although I really want to change that up. Let's test it out. Okay, that was something. You see which agents are selected, and you see, yeah, all of this. I had said that they should navigate to a new page if they want to edit everything. So Haiku 4.5 didn't really listen to my instructions here, but yeah, it does seem to work. Okay, so finally, let's look at Grok. Okay, so Grok has the typical AI gradient here. Added examples, which I did not ask for. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's nice. Not how I'd style it, but and I didn't ask for it. But okay, that animation also looks nice. A few issues. It said like 125% complete. Also, it was kind of bulky, not very like minimalist. Okay, and yeah, this doesn't look the nicest. Okay, and if I go here, I can edit the team. So this is exactly what the new chat page looked like before, except without this here. Okay. Yeah, so if I go back, what happens if I go back? Yeah, I don't know if there needed to be this extra step that you can go back to here. I had mentioned there should only be 2 steps, but let's see this again. All right, cool. And so, yeah, I think at this point, it took me maybe like 30 minutes to just talk out what I wanted to build, get them to build it, to write the design docs, compare the design docs, have Composer consolidate the design docs, have them all implement it, fix the issues that Composer was running, and test it. And yeah, I mean, I think takeaways I had from this. Yeah, Composer is really fast. Also did come up with, in my opinion, the simplest, minimalist kind of design. So I might go with Composers. Didn't really go super deep into the actual code changes yet, so I will have to look at that. But yeah, and then I think like this was just a good way for me to test out the updates to Cursor, kind of like use it for its agentic features for the first time in a while. And initial thoughts, yeah, I had gotten used to using the CLIs, and I don't know that I'm ready to say that I'm gonna use an IDE like Cursor for my agentic coding, but I do have to say it looks very nice. They're packing a lot into the IDE. I think that they're doing a good job, or as best as they can, to kind of like keep it neat. Yeah, there are some quirks, like for example, I noticed that it's a little weird that, you know, in the editor, typically you have the file system on the left and the agent panel on the right. Here it's reversed. You have the file system on the right, agent panel on the left. And that's fine. I do like that in the agents tab, they're trying to put the focus on the agents. And if you want to go into the editor, like manually, you can use the editor tab and things will look like they normally do. But it is a little weird. That's a minor comment, but yeah, this isn't like a formal review or anything like that. I just thought I'd share the results that I found after using Cursor for the first time in a while, and gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. I think the main takeaway is how easy it is to have multiple agents running in parallel in worktrees, how it handles the worktrees for you, and how it's easy to reference files from other worktrees to a separate agent. Okay, I could see a use case where it's like you want to talk to multiple agents and maybe you want to introduce a new agent. So for example, in this case, I had each agent come up with a design doc, and then I wanted to consolidate into one design doc. Now, I ended up using Composer to be the one to consolidate the design doc. But what I would like to do is start with a fresh new session with a new agent whose context has not been polluted or influenced by one of these agents' original takes on the design doc. And so I think it would be interesting to be able to introduce new agents on the fly rather than limiting it to you can only work with the original agents that you sent the same prompt to. It might be nice to add more flexibility to make it easier to consolidate the results that you're getting from these different agents. And so I guess you could go back and then undo the original message and send another one, and technically you do get a new agent with the blank slate. But anyways, those are my 2 cents. But yeah, excited to test it out some more. We'll see if I actually end up using Cursor again for more than just tab autocomplete.